guys, welcome to Coffee Hang. I hope you're having a lovely time, morning, night, whenever you're listening or watching. I'm here with my coffee. As always, we're going to take a sip. I just wanted to start by saying thank you for all the love on the first 2 episodes. This has been so much fun, and like I said in the last one, I did not expect to have as much fun as I'm having. Here we are, we're just having fun and figuring it out, and I was talking with Evan last night. I was like, I don't even have like a set thing that I talk about, that I have like laid out. Like, yes, defined for the month of July is like summer and color, and how we're adding color to different parts of our lives, like metaphorically, and through clothes and makeup. But it's like, how am I going to lay out the episodes and all this? And it's just like, you know what? I don't have to have that figured out right now. So much of this beginning is just figuring it out. And that's what I'm doing. And I'm having so much fun. So that's what we're doing. I also did not expect for the first 2 episodes to be so wisdom-based, but I guess that's where we're at and we're going with the flow, but it's also really fun. And that's kind of, Ev and I were also saying, that's kind of how, like, when you're at the coffee shop with your best friend, like, it goes from talking about funny things to deep things to funny things again. Like, it's all over the place. So, all good things. This week, I, in my personal life, had to like switch up a couple of my routines. I don't know if anyone else is feeling kind of this like summer itch to just do some things a little different. It's almost like, it's like a spring reset, but not. It's in the middle of summer when it's scorching hot. And I don't know, I just felt like I needed to switch some things up. And I love a routine. I also am stubborn and don't always want to follow it. It's the weirdest thing in myself. I hope I'm not alone in that. I have started going on early morning walks, and it has been so much fun. I bring this up to say, like, if you've not done this yet, I just dare you to try it. Ev and I try to get up around 6-ish every morning, and I also just try to get up when I wake up. You know the whole thing of like when you wake up, but then you try to go back to sleep. Like, yes, if it's 3 a.m., like maybe let's go back to sleep. But if it's like 5:40, like I really don't want to do that like 20-minute sleep, and I always have weird dreams and all things. Anyways, it inspired me to, okay, you know what? Let me just like get up, set my clothes out the night before, and just go on an early morning walk. And I've been listening to a podcast, but I kind of want to start doing it where it's more of a quiet walk too, or just see what I need. Sometimes I try to put a lot of rules on things before I've even started. I'm noticing this in my 27th year of life. And I'm like, Malls, just like start it and then we'll like figure out what we want to do. But anyways, started doing that and it's been really, really fun. It's also been inspired because it's been so warm that every afternoon when I normally take a break to go on a walk, it's been hot or it's been raining. So I had to like switch it up because the weather was forcing me to, but it was a good switch up. So yeah, that's been something that's different this week. That was so much fun, and whether I carry that into next week, next month, whatever, but it's been fun. There's an idea for you if you haven't done that yet. I don't know if anyone else has been watching Clarkson's Farm on Prime Video, but Ev and I have been hooked. I watched the first season when I lived in England, and then I kind of forgot that the show existed. And Ev and I have been watching Top Gear, and like old episodes of Top Gear. And I was like, oh my gosh, babe, there's a show where Jeremy has his own farm, and we have just been obsessed with it. It's so good. It's so wholesome, but also like you learn so much. Like, who else is going to bring cameras onto the farm other than Jeremy? And all that to say, watch it. And 2, I'm so sorry if my metaphors and imagery from here on out for a few months are farming, especially today's. But that today's doesn't come from Jeremy's farming. It comes from my own. So all that to say, the topic for today has been an interesting one because normally when I pick these topics, I really try to think about what I'm going through, what people around me are going through, like just what is like the energy around me. And let me say this, it's making me be really in touch with my own feelings, which I appreciate. This whole podcast journey, I was telling Evan, is really good for me, to talk more. B, to say my feelings out loud and put them to words. And 3, it's making me be more aware of culture, what's kind of happening with like when you're in conversations, when you're at the end of a week and you look back on all the different conversations you've had, like a lot of times I feel like there's a thread that goes through all of them. And that's where I've pulled the first 2 episodes from, because it's just what's relevant. It's what you're going to get the best version of me when I talk about those things, because it's what's happening in my own life and most likely what hopefully you're experiencing too, because that's the cool thing about the human experience. Somehow we're all in these same kind of seasons together and it's really beautiful. And so today's topic, I was at lunch and I was talking about the weather and I was talking about my scorched plants. And it dawned on me the imagery of scorched plants in the summertime. Because normally when we talk about summer, we paint the picture of its growth, its blooming, its new life, like all these beautiful, exciting things. And even, like I said earlier, define for July is summer in color. Like it's all about those things. But I don't always feel like I'm blooming, and I don't always feel like those things during summer are happening to me. And I also don't feel like they're always happening to people around me. I've actually had some of the saddest conversations in the past 2 weeks, or been in some of the saddest situations, or just experiences, or family with health issues that come up. Like this past month has been full of those kind of conversations or that kind of news. And it's like, what do we do when we're in those seasons where, well, what do we do when we're in the summer season that's not blooming, but it's scorching us, or it's scorching those around us? Like what do we do in that? How do we keep moving forward? So I sat in that the past few days, and even with some of my own examples of those things happening in my own life, like, okay, how am I processing and moving forward with those things as well while it's still summer and it's exciting and it's supposed to be blooming season? So I've come up with 3 things that will feel very straightforward, but I normally have to check in on myself. It's kind of like when you're driving a car, like gas, you know you need the gas, but are you always like checking the, oh gosh, where's Evan when you need him? Are you always checking the fuel level, you know? So it's one of those things where these things sound simple, but we're not always checking them. And I am the first one to admit that. So first things first, we have to feel. Evan and I were in a conversation recently where something sad was told to us. And of course, we were asking how they were, and then how that person who it had happened to, how they were feeling. But then we were also just like, how are you feeling? Like to each other, because it is so important when people around you are in those seasons of being scorched and like you are pulled into that season by association. It is so important that you feel your feelings around that situation, not first necessarily, but just at the same time. Like you can care for those people and also feel how sad it is or how frustrating it is for this to be happening. Because if you don't, you will not be emotionally available for them, or even, I think, emotionally aware. Evan and I kept talking about it, and it just made so much sense, because when there have been seasons in my life when people around me were in that scorched season and I just focused on how they were feeling, how they were doing, fixing their situation and not taking care of my own, I ended up with it all just like spilling out one day and just crying or being angry. And it's like, that's what happens when you don't sit there and feel. All this to say, when you feel your own feelings after you've taken care of those and you're by yourself at the end of the day. When you are sitting there processing your feelings, you will ultimately be a better friend, caretaker, just energy in the room because your feelings are taken care of and have been assessed, and there won't ever be any overflow or even any just like numbness. For me, I don't always want to feel sad. It's something my therapist looked at me one time and was like, you've got to be okay with being sad. And I'm like, because I'm a really like upbeat, joyful person, and I don't always want to feel sad or want those around me to feel sad. And so Evan has gotten to where he knows to ask me what sadness I'm carrying. Like at the end of the day, the other night, he was like, what sadness have you been carrying today? Because I won't always either share it with him or feel it, which takes us into the second thing, is to share it with someone. It is so important to have a person that you can share your feelings with, a safe place you can share your feelings with, because it helps you feel known. And like we talked about in last week's episode, it makes you feel known. It brings this wholeness to you, and it connects you with this other person as well. There was a season in my life where I did not share a lot of what I was going through because it was such a hard season. And I look back on it now and I'm like, I don't like shame myself, but I just look back on it now wishing I would have been more open and been more open with sharing how I was feeling, because I think I would have maybe, it's so hard to look back on a season and be like, maybe I would have gotten out of it sooner, but it's like I had to go through what I went through. So it's hard for me to look back on things and say that. But it honestly, going back to that scorched plant imagery, like I felt like the scorched plant because I wasn't sharing, I wasn't like bringing any connection with anyone else in my life. It's definitely a situation that I try not to put myself in now. Like I will even look at Evan and anytime I'm feeling something and I'm like, I'm just telling you this so you know how I'm feeling, so I'm saying it out loud. And sometimes that's all that needs to be said, is you just say it and you get on with it. Feel, share. And then the last one is, there's something beautiful about when a scorched plant's leaves fall off. New ones can grow. And so there's hope in that season. And of course, you can't always see the hope when you're in it, like when those scorched leaves are falling off or when they are starting to be scorched. But that's why connecting with people, sharing it, and other people sharing their stories of how they got through that season, like that is the hope that we can find in that season. So my third tip is to find that hope in that new growth, in those new leaves, and knowing that that is coming. And I have yet to be that mature in a season of scorching. So, but it's so hard. I sit here hoping if I'm meeting you in that season that you hear me say, like, there is hope. Once those leaves fall off, new ones are able to bloom, and how exciting that is for you, and you will make it through. I say all these things knowing that it is so hard when people around you are suffering or in these seasons of being scorched, or even if you're in one yourself. But this idea of hope is what we can cling to and will spring us forward and cause those new leaves to grow. And I'm so thankful. I was pulling off the old leaves of this plant, these two plants we had on our front porch that just completely got burned up by the sun. And I was like, okay, you know what? We're going to pull off these leaves. We're going to see if there is a rooted plant still living in there. And as soon as I got the old leaves off and the old buds, like everything that was dead, there was a green, lively plant still rooted in that pot. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is the metaphor for hope. Like, there is still hope within those seasons of hardship and of sadness and of breakups and sickness. Like, there is still hope in those. Sometimes they're really hard to see. I admit that for sure. So as I've been feeling this in this season, this week, and just this month, these are some of the things that I've been trying to implement and remind myself to do. But it's of course not easy, and it's not an easy fix. So this is me reminding you and me, it's not an easy fix, and it's not like a new growth is going to happen tomorrow. But I do know as soon as we feel, share, and find the hope, we can be a little bit more grounded in ourselves and able to be more emotionally available for ourselves and for others. Maybe it helps us not become numb in those seasons or just completely angry. Like, hopefully it helps us find a little balance. Okay, that is what I have for the week. Moving in to the last part, grabbing a sip of our coffee. This week am making time to be with friends. Evan and I are going to try to have somewhat of a restful Saturday, since we were traveling last weekend, and kind of want to clean out my closet. Like I said, y'all, spring reset, summer leaves falling off, like summer scorched leaves are leaving. We're going to work on that. But you know what I'm saying? Like, that is what I'm feeling this week. It's like I'm wanting to just prune off all the things that just aren't fitting me. I'm so curious if anyone else is feeling that way. Like, that's the kind of mood I'm in. I'm like, okay, let's get rid of the clothes that aren't working. Like, the clothes that we're not wearing. Like, let's declutter. I think that's what the heat, the scorching is like sending me into. Isn't it funny just how like there's actually scorching heat here in Nashville, and that's just kind of what I'm experiencing in like my life and people's lives around me. Isn't that funny how like nature and our lives work together? I love that so much. And again, this has just been so much fun chatting with you. I know this one was a little bit shorter this week, but I will be back with y'all next week, and I cannot wait to hang with y'all again. So I hope you'll have a great rest of the day whenever you're listening to this, and I will catch you in the next one. Cheers. Bye, guys.